All of you enter your attendance. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, ma'am.
Yesterday we had learned this IP header. That is, every IP datagram which is being sent over the internet will have a header which includes information that is required for that packet or for that datagram to be reaching the destination smoothly. And in this header, we had seen that there is one part which is called as the fixed part, and it is of 20 bytes long, so 5 words. And there is another part which is called as the optional part, which can be up to 40 bytes. But we are not sure about how many bytes could be included inside the optional part. It depends on the kind of datagram being transmitted. So optional part may be included or may not be included. Now, in the fixed part that we learned yesterday, we had learned this particular field, which is having a 13-bit fragment offset, 2 bits, which are single bit fields. One is called as DF, the other one is called as MF. And one more field, which is unused, which is shown in gray color, again a 1-bit field. I hope you all understand what is meant by a 1-bit field. 1-bit field means that field is going to contain only 1 bit. That bit can either be a 1 or it can be a 0. If the bit is set to 1, means, for example, DF means don't fragment. If DF bit is set to 1, that means this packet should not be fragmented. If it is set to 0, that means this particular packet can be fragmented. So 1 means true, 0 means false. That's why df, if it is set to 1, means this particular packet, we are telling the router not to fragment it, don't fragment it. Whereas if df bit is set to 1 and a particular packet is already fragmented, it is divided into chunks. The first packet, the first chunk, the second fragment, and the third fragment. For the first two fragments, because there are other fragments after it, it will be set to 1. But for the last fragment, the last packet, the last chunk, since there are no more packets or no more datagrams after it, MF bit for the last fragment will be set to 0. And for the first fragment, the fragment offset will be not valid, in the sense it will be 0. Whereas for the remaining two fragments, the fragment offset value will be valid. It tells where to fit this fragment, where to start. For example, suppose we have a packet which is containing, say, 100 bytes. The next 101st byte will become the fragment offset. So fragment offset for the first fragment will not be valid, whereas for the remaining two packets, it will be valid. To make you all understand the concept of fragmentation properly, let us take one example. All right, with the help of one example, I'll try to explain. Look at this particular diagram. Imagine we have a particular datagram which has been fragmented, which has been broken into 3 fragments, into 3 different chunks or 3 different datagrams. The first fragment, you all can see on top, what is shown in square is the datagram or the packet. The first fragment contains 20 byte header and 176 bytes of actual data. The second fragment again contains 20 bytes header and 176 bytes of actual data. In the third fragment, again, there is a header which is 20 bytes long and the data part is containing only 148 bytes. Now you all can see, imagine we have a one large packet. It is now divided into 3 packets or into 3 fragments. So for the first fragment, the fragment offset value will be 0 because this is the first fragment itself. For second and third, the fragment offset where it has to fit. First fragment, there is no question of offset because that itself is the first chunk. So second chunk should be fitted where? That is decided by the fragment offset. That's why you all can see below the first fragment, the fragment offset value is 0, means invalid. It is to be ignored. Whereas for the second packet, the fragment offset value is set to 20. And for the third packet, the fragment offset value is set to 44. That decides the offset or the byte where this particular fragment has to be fitted. Similarly, you all can have a look at MF. MF, I told you, is a 1-bit field which indicates if there are more fragments. Now, this is your first fragment. Behind or after this fragment, there is the second fragment and there is the third fragment. So MF for the first fragment will be set to 1 because there are behind it, there are other fragments which are coming up. For the second fragment also it will be set to 1 because the third fragment is there. Another fragment is existing or coming after the second fragment. Whereas for the third fragment, since this is the last fragment, there are no more fragments after this, MF or more fragments will be set to 0, indicating that this is the last fragment. There are no more fragments after the there are no more fragments after the packet. Okay. Similarly, the header length is indicated here, 5 bytes. Okay. So you all can see now. For the don't worry about the total length now. Total length is 176 plus 20, which is equal to 196. Okay. So we'll not worry about the length. We'll only look at offset and more fragment, that fragment offset field and more fragment. As I said, if you have a packet which is divided into 3 fragments, for the first fragment, the fragment offset will be 0 because it is the first one. So second and third are the fragments which are going to be appended, which are going to be joined. So for the first fragment, always the fragment offset will be set to 0. Second and third fragments, the fragment offset field, which is 13-bit field, will contain the value where the fragment has to be fitted. MF field, which is a 1-bit field, for the first fragment, it will be 1. For the second fragment, it will be 1. For any other fragments also, it will be 1. But for the last fragment, it will be set to 0, indicating that there are no more fragments after a given chunk of data. After a given fragment, there are no more fragments that are existing. So you all should be able to understand MF and fragment offset. MF, more fragments, indicating that after this fragment, there are other fragments, other packets that are coming. So if it is the last fragment, there are no more fragments which are coming, that time it will be set to 0. Fragment offset for the first packet or for the first fragment will be 0 because it is the first one. The remaining packets are to be fitted after the first one. So there the fragment offset value is valid and it indicates the byte where the next fragment is going to begin. If original packet is there, it will be divided into chunks. So where the second fragment origins or where it starts, that is decided with the help of the fragment offset field. Now I want you all to remember all these fields properly, because in the exam, they ask you to draw the IP header, IPv4 header, and they ask you to explain also all the fields that are there in the header. Okay. Today, the next thing that we are going to learn after this header is about addresses. Before I go to IP addresses, I want you all to have a look at the header once again. There are so many fields. All these fields are necessary to smoothly see to it that the data reaches the destination. But how do you send the data to the destination? Every packet will have a 32-bit field which contains the source address and the destination address. Now, what do we mean by the term address? Address identifies a connection uniquely on a network. Address identifies a host or a router. Host means computer, or a router uniquely on your internet. So there are millions of users all over the world. There are millions of computers all over the world. How are we going to uniquely identify a machine? For example, suppose I'm sending an email to my friend. It has to reach her machine. Or for example, from my machine, I'm fetching some web pages and I'm browsing the internet. When I'm browsing the internet, for example, suppose I'm looking at google.com. Whatever are the Google pages, or suppose I'm opening a YouTube web page. Whatever is the YouTube content, that should come to my computer and nobody else's computer. It depends on what I'm browsing. So that data has to be sent to me. Or for example, suppose I'm trying to transfer a file from my machine to my college machine. So that file has to go to college machine, not to any other person. It has to go to Gokte College of Commerce, to a particular machine. There only it has to reach. If it reaches someone else, maybe my data is going to be hacked. It is going to be misused. So data, when it is sent over a network, it has to reach the proper identified destination. For this, addresses are very, very important. How do we know that how do we define an address, or how do we know that a particular packet has reached the destination correctly? With the help of addresses. I'll give you one more example. Imagine you are sending a postcard. Nowadays, nobody sends a postcard, but imagine you have written a letter and that you have put inside an envelope, and you are sending that postcard or that greeting card to a friend. Now, when you send a greeting card, or you want to send any say official matter to a particular person, on top of that envelope, you write down the address. First line, you write the name of the person. Second line, you write maybe the flat number or the office number, whatever it is. Then the street, after that the city, then the country, and maybe even a pin code. So can you all see, with the help of that address, the postcard reaches the destination person correctly. It doesn't go to some other person, it goes to that person only. So with the help of address, we can identify the location of that person and reach it there. Like that, with the help of the address, even in the internet, even if millions of users are there all over the internet, a packet which is addressed to a particular destination reaches the destination safely and correctly. This address, unique way of identifying a machine on the network, is what we are going to learn today. we are going to learn about IP addresses. Okay, so today we will just get introduced and learn a little about IP addresses, and in the next class we'll learn a little more about IP addresses. All right, I just will start another presentation. Okay, is everybody able to see my presentation now?
Yes, ma'am.
You are able to see IP addresses?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so we will be having a look at what are IP addresses, and we will also understand what is meant by classful addressing in this class. Maybe classless addressing we can learn in the next class. Okay, as I said, IP addresses are used to uniquely identify a connection of a host or a router on the internet. IP addresses, the word address indicates that we can uniquely identify a connection of a host or a router on a network. A network may consist of many hosts. Host means computers or nodes. It may contain many routers also. Every router and every computer present on a network, that connection which connects it to the network, we can identify it uniquely with the help of IP addresses. Okay, so we will try to define what are IP addresses. IP stands for Internet Protocol, and address will uniquely identify a machine. Okay, IP addresses are basically 32-bit addresses that uniquely identify a connection of a device on the internet. Try to remember this definition, very important. An IP address. What is an IP address? It is a 32-bit address. We saw in the header, no? Every source address and a destination address. It's an IP address. And how many bits are there? 32 bits. 32 bits in the sense, how many bytes?
4 bytes.
4 bytes. So every IP address is a 4-byte IP address, and it is a 32-bit address that uniquely identifies a connection of a device. Now this device can either be a computer which connects you to the network, or it can be a router which is connected to the network. Routers also have IP addresses. Machines or your computers also have IP addresses. Understand this very important word in the definition. 32-bit addresses uniquely identify a connection. That means what? Suppose you remove a computer or a router from one network and put it in some other network, its IP address will change. It is unique. The connection is unique. If the machine is taken out of a network and connected to some other network, the connection changes. Its IP address will also change. So again, I'm repeating the definition. Every host or a router is uniquely identified, yes. But basically, we are identifying the connection rather than the machine. The connection with the help of which the machine becomes a part of the network, that we are able to identify uniquely with the help of an IP address. So suppose in future you have removed a computer and put it in some other network, the connection is going to change. When the connection changes, its IP address will also change. But as long as it is connected to a network, it has got a unique address. So even if millions of users are there all over the world, millions of computers are there all over the world, each connection, each host, or every router that is connected to the network can be uniquely identified. Uniquely, the word uniquely means what? It's not going to repeat. Every machine will have a unique address. No two machines will have the same address. So every connection that is there, which allows the host to become a part of the network, that we are going to identify uniquely with the help of an IP address. Now, when we talk about IP addresses, we come across this term which is called as the address space. Now, what do we mean by the term address space? Whenever a protocol is used to identify the machines or to ensure communication between two parties, the total number of addresses that the protocol uses, we call it as the address space. The amount of addresses that the protocol supports, we call it as the address space. So you will come across this term now. What is this term that we use? When we talk about IP addresses, we we talk about the address space. Now, what do we mean by the word address space? The total number of addresses used by a protocol is called as the address space. So IP, makes use of 32 bits. So what would be its address space? That we have to know. If a protocol is using n bits for an address, n can be any value. So I'm talking about IP. IP uses how many? 32 bits. So there are going to be 2 to the power of 32 addresses. Understand this. If a protocol is using n bits, then there are 2 to the power of n addresses. If a protocol is using n bits for an address, n can be any value. For example, if a protocol is using 8 bits for address, then there are going to be 2 to the power of 8 addresses. Now, why 2 to the power of 8? Because bit means 2 values. 2 values because 1 and 0. So every bit can take 2 values, either a 1 or a 0. That means if there are 8 bits, 2 to the power of 8, 2 values, no? So base 2, 2 to the power of 8 different combinations of ones and zeros we can have. That's why 2 to the power of 8 addresses. Similarly, in IP, in internet protocol, every internet address or every IP address is made up of how many bits? 32 bits. So if 32 bits are used, then in internet, how many addresses we can have? 2 to the power of 32. 2 to the power of 32 is a very big number. 2 to the 4 to the 8 to the 16 to the 32 to the 64, like that. 2 you are multiplying 32 times. So you're going to generate a very huge number. So 2 to the power of 32 is approximately equal to 4 billion addresses. That means in IP or in internet protocol, we can support up to 2 to the power of 32 addresses. That means in the internet, there can be up to 4 billion addresses. Okay, that's the reason, we can have millions of computers all over the world with a unique value, with a unique address. Now, I hope this point is clear. Everybody knows now what is an IP address. What is an IP address? It's a 32-bit field that uniquely identifies a connection. What do we mean by address space? Total number of addresses used by a protocol. Okay. So if n bits are used for an address, there are going to be 2 to the power of n addresses. Similarly, if 32 bits are used, then 2 to the power of 32 addresses we are going to have, which is approximately equal to 4 billion addresses. Okay. Now, every IP address that we have makes use of dotted decimal notation. What is a dotted decimal notation? You people must have seen an IP address. 128.220. Something 11.2, something like that. You people must have seen. So this IP address is a hierarchical address. Now, what do we mean by the word hierarchical address? I'll tell you with reference to a general address and also IP address. Generally, suppose you are looking at your own house address. Okay, don't you think it's a hierarchical address? Let's go from bottom to top. When you write down your address, at the bottom you write the country, for example, India. And after that, you are going to write the state, for example, Karnataka. After that, you are going to have the city, that is Belgaum. After that, you are going to have, upwards we are looking. So we may have a locality like Tilakwadi. Then the name of the apartment or the name of the house. Then the house number. Can you see a hierarchy? In India, in Karnataka, in Belgaum, in Tilakwadi, in Lakshmi Tower apartment, there is a person called Asmita Deshpande. Now there's a hierarchy in the address. You people are understanding there's a level, a top level, which gives the country name, next state name, next city name, then locality name, then the building name, then the flat number. There's a hierarchy, no? There are different levels. Like that, in IP addresses also are hierarchical addresses. IP addresses are hierarchical addresses. They make use of dotted decimal notation. Now, this dotted decimal notation was used because it's very compact and easier to remember and read. So every IP address is written in decimal form with dots that separate the bytes. Okay, there are going to be 4 bytes. So there are going to be 4 parts in your IP address. Now this example that you can see 117.149.29.2. So there are 4 bytes or 4 parts. Now that indicates the hierarchy. That indicates a network and a host. So there is going to be a network ID and there's going to be a host ID. Each number in that dotted decimal, if you all can see that number now, every part in that dotted decimal will have a value which is ranging between 0 to 255. Why 0 to 255? Because total 32 bits. So total 32 bits we are dividing into 4 parts, means every part is having 1 byte. 1 byte means 8 bits, means 2 to the power of 8. That means how many values we can have in 1 byte? 256. 2 to the power of 8 is equal to 256. So the maximum value will be in the range 0 to 255. If you start from 1, it will be up to 256. But if we start from 0, it will be up to 255. So each number in the dotted decimal is a value which is ranging between 0 to 255. Okay. So every IP address, remember these points. Every IP address is 32-bit long. We make use of a dotted decimal notation. This dotted decimal notation is very easier to remember and read. In this dotted decimal notation, the address is written in the decimal form with dots. Every byte is separated by a dot. Every byte means each of the 8 bits. So every byte will have a value ranging from 0 to 255 because 8 bits will be used for one part. Another 8 bits for another part, another 8 bits for another part, last 8 bits for the last part. 8 4s are 32 bits. Okay, so 4 parts are going to be there and each value will be ranging between 0 to 255. 2 to the power of 8 is equal to 256. So the value will be in the range 0 to 255. I hope I'm clear till here. Everybody is understanding this?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So next what we are going to understand is how these IP addresses, what's the hierarchy in the IP addresses. Okay. Now every IP address is 32-bit long and it is made up of 2 parts, the network ID and the host ID. The network ID is called as the prefix and the host ID is called as the suffix. Okay, all of you remember this. Every IP address is 32 bits long. 32 bits means 4 bytes. So every IP address will be made up of 2 parts. There's a hierarchy now. Network and in that network a host. For example, imagine our college lab. In our college lab, there's a LAN. So let's call there are 2 labs, no? Let's call the LAN in the first lab as LAN 1 and the LAN in the second lab or the network in the second lab as LAN 2. So in LAN 1, there could be about say 250 machines. So we may have nodes which we number, node number 1, number 2, number 3, and so on up to 249. Total it will make it, we are starting from 0, then up to 249. If you start from 1, then up to 250. So total 250. So in LAN number 1, suppose we have 250 machines. Then if I want to identify machine number 2, then how will I identify it? LAN1.M2. LAN1 indicates the network and M2, machine 2, indicates the node number 2. Or suppose I want to identify machine number 50 in LAN 2. Then how will I identify it? LAN2.M50. LAN 2 is the network ID. M50 is the host ID or the machine ID. Understanding this? Since every computer is going to be a part of the network, every IP address will be made up of 2 parts, the network ID and the host ID. Network ID is called as the prefix because it comes first. Host ID is called as the suffix because it comes afterwards. Okay. Now in the diagram, I have shown 2 parts, network ID and host ID. And you may feel that network ID is 16 bits and host ID is 16 bits because exactly half I have shown. May not be true. Sometimes only 1 byte, that is 8 bits, is used for network ID. Remaining bits are used for host ID, remaining 24 bits. Sometimes network ID is of 16 bits, host ID is another 16 bits. Sometimes network ID is 24 bits and host ID is only 8 bits. So it depends on how many bits are used for network ID and how many bits are used for host ID. Okay, you all can have a look at this example. You all can see in this example that this particular IP address is having 32 bits. Can you see the 32 bits now? They are shown in 4 parts, but together it is a 32-bit address. For example, in the first byte, in the first 8 bits, the 8 bits are 1 with 7 zeros. In the second part, there are 4 zeros, 1 0, 1 1. Similarly, the third part and the fourth part. Now, this 8 bits will, if you are thinking in binary, it is this. Its corresponding decimal value is 128. This first part, its corresponding decimal value is 128. Second part, its corresponding value is 11. Third part, its corresponding value is 3. And the fourth part, its corresponding decimal value. For every binary value, there is a corresponding decimal value. That is 31. So if this is your 32-bit address, in decimal notation, we identify it as 128.11.3.31. Okay. So like this, the 32 bits that are there, they will translate or they will have a corresponding decimal value, which makes use of a dotted notation, what we were just learning, what we call as the dotted decimal notation. So dotted decimal notations are used in IP addresses, and these IP addresses will be made up of network ID and the host ID, ID for identification. Okay. Now, generally in the internet, we have a addressing scheme, which is called as classful addressing. The internet addresses make use of this notation or this scheme, which is called as a classful addressing. Now, what is classful addressing? The IP addresses make use of this classful addressing, in which the whole of the address space, 4 billion addresses that we have, the whole of the address space is divided into 5 classes: class A, class B, class C, class D, and class E. Okay, I'll repeat again. Internet, the IP addresses that we have make use of a concept which is called as classful addressing. Now, in classful addressing, the complete address space is divided into 5 classes, namely A, B, C, D, and E. Now, which your IP address belongs to which class, that can be identified by the first byte. Okay, I want you all to have a look at the left hand side. Okay, what is there in the left hand side? Suppose we have class A addresses. Every address will be 32-bit long. 32-bit means 4 parts. The first 4 bytes, the first byte, second byte, third byte, and fourth byte. So you all can see I have shown it with square. The first byte, second byte, third byte, fourth byte. In class A, the first byte, if you're considering, the first bit in the class A is always 0. That means class A addresses begin with 0. So if you have a first bit as 0, then it is called as a class A address. In class A, as I have shown in this diagram, whatever is shown in blue color, that indicates network ID. Whatever is shown transparent, that indicates the host ID. So you can see 1 byte is used for network ID and 3 bytes are used for host ID. That means 8 bits are used to indicate the network ID and 24 bits are used to indicate the host ID. In class B, the addresses begin with 1 0. So first bit is 1, second bit is 0, and the remaining bits are 1. So if addresses are beginning with 1 and 0, then it is called as class B address. In class B, 16 bits are used for network ID and another 2, that is which is shown transparent, that indicates the host ID. In class C, the addresses begin with 1 1 0. So if you have addresses beginning with 1 1 0, they are called as, and the remaining bits, of course, first 8 bits are there, out of which first 3 bits are 1 1 0. Then they are called as class C addresses. Now in class C addresses, first 3 bytes, that is 24 bits, are used for network ID and only 8 bits are used for host ID. Similarly, the last class, that is class D, first three bits are 1, last bit is 0. And in class D and class E, there is no network ID and host ID. There is no such distinction. These addresses, class D addresses, are used as multicast addresses. When we want to send the data to a number of computers at the same time, we make use of multicast addresses. And class E, the first 4 bits are 1, 1, 1, 1. In that case, they belong to class E. Then remember, class E also doesn't have prefix and suffix. In case of class E, those addresses are reserved for future use. So generally, most organizations make use of either class A, class B, or class C. Class D and class E are, as such, are not used. Those addresses are not used by the organizations. Okay. Now you can have a look at the right hand side. As I said, in class A, first bit is 0. So and only 1 byte is used for host ID. So class A addresses, the first byte will be somewhere between, will contain a value between 0 to 127. Class B, the address will begin from 128 to 191, because the first bit is 1, second bit is 0. So in that case, the decimal value, these are the binary values and these are the decimal values. Class B, the first byte or the first part of the hierarchical notation will have a value between 128 to 191. And in class C, you will have a value starting from 192 to 223. In our college, we make use of class C addresses, where 3 bytes are used for network ID and only 1 byte is used for host ID. Okay. Similarly, class D and class E. Now, if you look at these values, and if I take you back to this, you can see this IP address. See the IP address 128.11.3.31. Can you all tell me this address belongs to which class? 128.11.3.31. 128 means which class?
Class
Class
B.
B.
Class B, correct. That means 2 bytes are used for network ID and the remaining 2 bytes indicate the host ID. Okay. So if you all can see, the first 2 bytes, 128 and 11, indicate the network ID and the remaining 2 bytes indicate the host ID. So in looking at the address, you should be able to make out it belongs to class A, class B, class C, class D, or class E. Generally, D and E are ignored. We make use of A, B, and C in order to store or identify a connection on the internet. Okay. So there are more things that I wish to tell you, but I hope these points are clear. If you have any doubts, you can ask me. I have told you what are IP addresses, the definition, what is meant by address space. We know about dotted decimal notation. Since 4 bytes are there, the total 32 bits are divided into 2 parts, network ID and the host ID. Okay. And we have 5 classes of addresses, class A, B, C, D, and E. Depending on the first bit or second and third bit, we can make out that particular address belongs to which class. Okay. So class A, and again in the diagram purposely, I have made use of 2 colors, blue color and the transparent color. Whatever is in blue color indicates network ID, and whatever is transparent, it indicates host ID. So in class A, 1 byte is used for network ID, 3 bytes are used for host ID. In class B, 2 bytes are used for network ID, 2 bytes for host ID. And in class C, 3 bytes for network ID and only 1 byte for host ID. Okay. So if you know this, I will tell you a little more about what could be the drawbacks of classful addressing, and then I will also tell you about classless addressing. If you have any doubts, you can ask me now. We are almost at the end, but if we can't discuss today, we will definitely discuss in the next class. I hope whatever I have taught today is clear.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, we'll stop here. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.